We hear about the crimes, but rarely the cause. Young men who seem to be so full of potential suddenly committing horrific crimes.
And we have seen it happen time and time again. Mental illness can overtake a young person suddenly, and parents need to know there can be a very short window of time to get help.
I was so proud of Denzel. I'm so proud of Denzel because he made honor roll his senior year.
A bright young man, well-liked in high school, active in sports, social with friends, close with his family. Now, an accused killer.
It was just sudden change.
Just 4 months after going to college, during a frequent visit home, Teresa Castile saw a sudden and dramatic change in her son.
He was totally far off. It was almost as if I was talking to someone who wasn't even there.
The change was so extreme, she took Denzel to the hospital.
They said they think he's just stressed out.
But physically, he was fine.
She said, ma'am, if he wants to go back to college, let him go back to college.
Days later, at his grandparents' home, in front of horrified relatives, Denzel grabbed his 11-week-old cousin Athena and stabbed her to death.
All he remembers is fire. I mean, his body was as hot as fire. Thank God that he can even remember that. He said he didn't know. He didn't know when those people, the people at the mental institution had to tell him what happened. He didn't know.
The once ambitious young man appearing dazed in a court appearance.
This is, by all accounts, someone who young, intelligent, liked by teachers, liked by principals, friends.
Public defender Jeff Whitaker had his client admitted to a psychiatric hospital. Denzel, now diagnosed as profoundly mentally ill, schizoaffective bipolar.
To go from that, going off to college, having such great promise, to all of a sudden be, alleged to be in the middle of something like this, you got to stop and say, what's going on here?
As shocking as this crime is, it is not hard to find crimes with common threads. At Sacramento State University, 19-year-old Koran Jones picked up a baseball bat and destroyed his dorm room. When his roommate walked in, he beat him to death with the bat. The two were friends. Jones, diagnosed with sudden onset of schizophrenia. 22-year-old Jared Lee Loeffner, the gunman in the Tucson rampage that injured Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords. Loeffner was kicked out of junior college over mental health concerns, now diagnosed as a paranoid schizophrenic. James Holmes, the gunman in the Colorado movie theater massacre, is being treated for schizophrenia. At age 24, he dropped out of a PhD program.
Schizophrenia typically evolves in late teens, late adolescence, early adulthood.
Clinical psychologist Dr. Stephen Newhouse says appearances can be deceiving. Young people about the age where they may head off to college look mature, but their brains are still developing. Mental illness can be triggered by a number of things. A chemical change in the brain, drugs, even stress. Any major life change, like going off to college, can be fun and exciting, but still stressful.
Some of it can be associated with various forms of stress, such as leaving home, leaving one's normal, safe environment. Some of it can be associated with the departure from home and drug use that liberates underlying vulnerabilities.
As young people take on more independence and sometimes start to pull away, families face challenges of figuring out what is a normal personality change and what is cause for concern. At what point do you step in?
Well, if someone's just beginning to fall apart, if they're losing their ability to function in different domains, I think then you have to take the bigger step and intervene and then sometimes force the first contact with a mental health professional before the situation deteriorates.
I'm still in shock.
Teresa did try to get help for her son. Her message to parents: if you feel there is a problem and you meet resistance, when you push to get help, push harder.
Follow your heart. Never keep going. Do not stop.
And once someone turns 18, it can be difficult to force them to get help. Now, Cleveland has a very strong chapter of NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, to help families deal with mental illness. We have a link at WKYC.com, plus more on our interview with Dr. Newhouse, including symptoms of mental illness, how it's affected by drug use, and also how to get help.